Hello, everybody, and welcome to no one at the moment, but hopefully people will start to drop in. And welcome to the first of a new content series. I'm quite excited for this one. Um, Essentially, what I am looking to do is I'm looking to take you through, and I've gone cheesy, right? Top Gun Tournament Academy. So, what this is going to be a introduction to high-level X-Wing. As you have probably already seen if you're following my channel, I like talking through my games, and I like talking through exactly what I'm thinking while I'm playing. But X-Wing, there's a lot more to it than that, and it's not just those games in isolation that you need to look at to get better. There's a lot of different aspects of the game which I'm going to be going through, but also there's a lot of aspects outside of the game. It's not necessarily just the game itself. There is a lot of aspects to list building. There is what happens before the game on turn zero. There's turning up to a tournament on time and having your stuff and not forgetting anything. So there's a lot of different aspects that go into succeeding at competitive X-Wing and doing well. And that's what I'm hoping to do a bit of a series on at the moment. So I'm going to be starting off doing a full-on series of this. There's going to be many different aspects that we look at in here. But this is going to be, whilst focused on X-Wing, probably less of me actually playing the game, more going through exactly how to succeed at these different aspects, creating some engineered scenarios and giving a bit of an example of, okay, this is how you do this is how you do this, and using it as an opportunity to really step up your X-Wing game to a higher level. You've got the basics, so now how do you get better? What do you do? Like, what is the next step in that? So what we're going to do specifically today is we're going to be looking at list building. And we're going to be going through all the different aspects of building a lists, what to do and how to do it, and everything else. So let's get that chat box in a different place there. Here we go. In terms of how to fly a ship better, we are absolutely going to be going through that. There's going to be loads of different parts of that in this series. You're going to have how to get a good engagement, how to work out what you're going to shoot at first, how to analyze your opponent's list and work out what it's going to do to you. In terms of flying ship better, that's one of the biggest ways, because you need to understand what threats are coming at you as well. How to deploy your asteroids at the start to make it better and everything else. So we're going to be doing lots of different that. But today we're going to specifically focus on lists and how to build a list and everything else. And well, you guys are here, so I'd love to hear some input from you guys. If there's anything that you're thinking, it's like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do this? What would you think about when you put this together in terms of a list? So we're going to start off with some examples. I'm going to basically build a list live. I'm in the process of making a first order list at the moment. So I thought I'd do it live and see what you guys thought. So when I like to build a list, it's important to build it around something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this one around a faction, and specifically around a ship, because I want to get the TIE BA to work. It's a new ship. I've just bought one. Obviously I haven't had the opportunity to play it on the table, but it's kind of cool. I really like it. It's an interesting mechanic, and the first few times I used it I got absolutely smashed, but I've been slowly getting better with it. It takes a little bit of practice. And I want to be able to put it in an effective list. So we're going to start off with this. So we're going to start off with the TIE BA Interceptor. Here we go. And because I love my aces, I'm going to start off with Von Reg, because he's cool. Ah, nice. So we'll chuck some ideas. See what we put him with. So I've fiddled around with the ship a little bit, and from what I've seen, from what I've tried, he works really well with Daredevil, and also Magpulse. Hey Scott, good to see you. Magpulse missiles are a pretty good upgrade on him. He's initiative 6. He likes to shoot at things, so we're going to put that in there. So what I've now got is my first ship. Hello guys, good to see you. I've got my first ship in there. and we have some stuff that we're gonna work around because we want to build our list around this ship. Um, and yeah, Federal Chipmunk, amazing name. I am well, thank you very much. So as we've got this as a starting block, you've got a couple of different ways of doing it. What you can do is you can look at the ship and look at the ability and go, okay, I'm going to make sure that my list maximizes this ability. Alternatively, you can chuck in different ships of different styles, hey 8-bit, and try and get them to fit together. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm dealing with first order here, I'm going to chuck in what is probably the best first order ship, and I love flying him. I've been flying since like the depths of 1.0 with advanced sensors. I'm going to put in Kylo because I love Kylo. Kylo's amazing. So we're going to get the silencer. We've got Kylo Ren in there with no upgrades yet. I'm just putting in ships for now. So if you have a look at these two, we've got Von Reg, who is an incredibly agile interceptor. He's really, really, really hard to catch. We also have Kylo, who is beefy. He's got force. He's going to be running around. He does a really good job of just getting out the way and murdering stuff, but only when he's not getting shot at. Because if he gets shot, then he's going to have some serious problems. So yeah, we've got two aces, but they operate very differently. And this is something that can work quite well if you're putting together a list, is chucking in some different things. So now we're going to have a look at a third ship, and this is what I like to do at this point in this building. You put in the ships that you really want to put in there, and then you think, what do I need to complete this list? And you go and select a few different options. So I'm going to have a look at the different options I have in my wheelhouse. So if we have a look at the FO fighters, we've just got a couple of cadets. We could put in 2 standard cadets, have 2 blockers in there. It works pretty well. What we could also have is we could have an SF. Can't quite fit these in terms of points. Maybe if I took off the Magpies I could have 2 SFs, but they're probably not as good as just having the 2 basic ones in there. I could have a look at a triple ace list. I could go for sorry, I need to take this off. Hyperspace. There we go, extended. I could have a quick draw in here. I could go for the serious amount of pain, and I've got 14 points to play with some stuff. So there's a few different options. Alternatively, we can not look at a 3 ace list, but have a bit more of a support ship. So if you have a look at the Upsilon shuttle, you can fit in Thanos in there. You can fit in the standard Starkiller base pilot. Not many points for upgrades. Maybe I want to take off the Magpulse missiles. But you can really put some fun stuff on here. If you start getting Thanasin, you can get Tavson. So 59 points with Thanasin. That's a list right there. 1, 2, 3. And I'm pretty bad at flying a shuttle, so maybe this could work out quite well. Once you've decided what 3 ships you're going to use, then you can start to tinker and look at upgrades. So if I've decided I'm going to look at these 3 ships, then I could say, well, I want some upgrades left. I don't think Magpulse is worth it because I'm not going to have an initiative bid. If you're looking at this list and you've got an initiative bid, then Magpulse is fantastic because Von Reg is always going to be moving last. He's going to be able to get his target lock. It's amazing. It's great. But if he doesn't have a target lock, then it's useless. So maybe not Magpulse here. Maybe we want to put something more useful on the shuttle to support. And if we have a look here, have a look at Thanason's ability. So during the activation or the engagement, after a ship in your arc at range 0 to 2 gains a stress token, yeah, then you can do this. That ship gains a tractor token. So let's have a look at Captain Phasma. During the end of the engagement phase, enemy ship at range 0 to 1 that is not stressed gets a stress token. So if you're jousting something and you say, cool, I'm going to put these 2 things together. So when you're building lists, have a look at synergy. What works together? In this case, Phasma, Thanasin, fantastic upgrades. They work really, really well together. So if I'm using this and if I'm running on 199, I think this is way more useful to me. Okay, Kylo doesn't have any upgrades, but he doesn't need them. I think honestly, if I'm running on 199, I would put in 1 more upgrade just to make sure it's legal. I put in the biohexacrypt codes, basically meaning that my shuttle can coordinate my aces and get them out of trouble if they need it, especially as they don't have any upgrades themselves. We've got that. So here is one variation of a first order list that we could fly. It's pretty good. It punches things really hard in the face, but it does have a weakness. And this is where we really come into the specifics. So we've built ourselves a list. So now let's have a look at what weaknesses this list has. The first thing that we can have a look at is the points value. It's 200. We're not going to be moving second. So how are we going to counter that? Well, things that we can do to counter that, we have a big shuttle that is going to shut down anything that is A-shaped with stress, as long as things are in front of it. If things get behind it, you're in trouble. Von Reg is great until he gets shot, and as we're running on 200, there is going to be some initiative 6s that can shoot him. The other thing to think about is if you're running only aces, then you're going to struggle against a swarm if you can't have something for the swarm to point at. Something from Mark, one of your favourite is Von Reg, Quick Draw, Revis, and Generic. That's something we're going to come on to in a second. So we've got this, and I'm thinking, how am I going to plug these holes? So the weakness that we've got really is to the aces, things outmaneuvering my ships. That's why Phasma helps, giving things a stress token. Kylo is incredibly maneuverable, Von Reg is incredibly maneuverable. So if you can pop a stress token on there, then it could be a pretty good way of shutting down some of those aces and making sure that they don't cause quite so many problems to your ships. Because if you can lob the shuttle at them, if they're constantly stressed, it gives Kylo time to get behind them. So in this, probably a lot more useful than having the Magpulse and Von Reg. The other side of the coin is that you can now have a look at the meta that you're putting this into, the environment you're putting this into. So let's go ahead and assume that we're going to put this into an environment which has a lot of aces. Say, for example, you've got Boba and Fen. Now, something that you can do is you can go on to List Fortress. So let's get List Fortress up here. And you can have a look at some of the events recently. And I love List Fortress for this because you can have a look at the squads. And if you have a look at the edit function, now in here, it's hidden. It's very hard to find sometimes, but you can have a look at the points value for the list. This one is on 197. So what I do every now and then, hey Simon, good to see you, is I have a look through List Fortress like this. You can also use Pink Brain Matter to do so. Very useful tool. And I have a look at all the lists that have done well. So let's have a look at the top 16 here. Having a look at the top 16, we have a load of lists, and we can have a look at their initiative bids. This one is mine. That runs on 199. This one is 200 basically. This one is 200 basically. This one is 200 basically. This one also came in at 200. Andreas's came in at 200. Brendan's came in at 200. Enno's list, this came in at 194. So this one was a little bit smaller. Bartosh's was 200. Columbus, this one was, let's have a look at this one. This is 196. Okay. Vader Center 5th. Again, that looks familiar. We've got Boba and Koshka. That comes in at almost 200. This one, almost 200. So what you can see is that there isn't very many initiative bids at the moment. So because of that, if I wanted to have a look at my list and go, cool, well, let's see if I can get a bid to make sure that Von Reg goes last. And against all of these big lists that we're seeing at the moment, okay, we've just looked at one tournament. But if we got rid of Captain Phasma and the Hexacrypt codes, I've got a 194 bid, and maybe in this present meta, that's good enough to make sure I go last most of the time. Alternatively, maybe you're scared of those AC lists. You know that a 6-point bid isn't enough to take out a really big bid list. So you are going to leave Captain Phasma on there just in case. So looking at some of these questions here. Thanos' ability on Kylo for the double barrel roll. That's a very good point. So I didn't even consider that. It does not say enemy ship. So really good call, Relative Shoe. You can use Thanos' ability on Kylo if you need to. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Mark. It also depends where you're flying, and this is something that's, because this is focused on tournament games. As this is focused on tournament games, you have to be very, very careful not to fall into the trap of building a list to win at your local store. Because when you get to a tournament, it's not going to be just people from your local store. It's going to be people from all over the country, some cases all over the world, and they're going to be bringing their own individual metas into that tournament. So don't just have a look at one event. You might have looked at that event and gone, okay, top 16 there. I can obviously just bring a 5-point bid and I'll be fine. Alternatively, you could look at another tournament. Maybe all of the ace lists have come out for that one. So it's something that you need to have a good look at. So yeah, the baffle and the shuttle, that's an interesting one from our Stan. So yeah, high bids coming back, we don't know. Maybe time to play Geary Fen. Now, on the subject of bids, there's another way that you can take this list. Yeah, and this is the thing from our Stan, there is always a bigger bid. I think unless I can take a 20-point bid and be almost 100% certain I'm going to win every bid, what I would rather do is I would put something in my list that counters for those massive ace bids. Captain Phasma here would really help with that. And in the game that I played against Dale, that some of you might have seen on, for example, what was it? It was the other 186 channel run by Lloyd and Paul. If you'd have seen the game against Dale, because I didn't have something like Captain Phasma on the shuttle, it made my life really difficult against those aces. Does the 186 still run at 186? Well, here's another one for you. So I'm going to get rid of that. I told you, Mark, that we were going to come back to your Revis idea, because this is the other side of the coin. Let's cast our minds all the way back to, what are we thinking? We're thinking not Yavin, before Yavin. We're just after the World Championships. Bobber dropped in a big way, and Bobber Fen was everywhere, like so many places. And Bobber and Fen, I've had a serious look at this, and I've had this list in the tank for hyperspace lists. This is one of mine that I decided to work out for a hyperspace. So let me show you why I've built this list, and we can talk about how synergy and how things have come together. So even having the large bait ship with a big gun, yeah, it can absolutely herd the aces across the board, which is why it's really quite nice to have the ship, and they don't want to get near it because it's got Phasma. But let's look at this from the other angle. Let's look at this from the angle of, okay, what about we go for the big bid? So let's go for an FO fighter, and let's go for Revis. I just want to have a look at Revis's ability here, because this again is synergy. After a ship at range 1 to 2 gains a red or orange token. That means a stress token or a target lock. Now, if I'm running this with Magpulse, Von Reg, and Kylo, then they are both going to be taking target locks on a regular basis. And you know here that I've got 32 points left. That is ridiculous. Now, what I did is I had a look at all of the List Fortress data from about 3 months. I dived in deep. I looked at 3 months worth of List Fortress, and I checked out every single Bobber and Fen list that I could find, because it was the big scary thing in the meta at the time. And I found out that not a single one ran lower than 183. The ones that were running lower than 183, there was a couple on 178, but they were all going 1 and 5. They weren't doing very well because they just didn't have the efficiency. So all of the good versions of that list was running at 183 or higher. So I thought, all right, so I need to be at 182 maximum to make sure that I can run around Bobber. Okay? So you take proton torpedoes on Kylo. That means that both Kylo and Von Reg are going to be taking target locks every single turn. Von Reg can do a lock after he moves. Kylo has the force, so he loves taking target locks. You then chuck in Revis and chuck him in as your blocker. The blocker runs in, he dives right into the enemy, he takes an evade token, and suddenly, just because you've target locked something, he also gets a target lock as well. If you know he's not going to get shot as often, you can take a focus, and then you have a free focus target lock shot. It may only be a 2-dice gun, but at 27 points, he's going to make a mess of things. He's pretty good. So, as a filler, as a blocker, it's really, really, really nasty. And this is the thing that you can start to put together, and you go, oh wait, but this works really well with this. And what you'll notice is I'm on 181 points. Now, I have loads of toys that I can add to this list. I have so many. But the purpose of building this list is to do one thing, and that is to kill Bobber and Fen. Magpulse missiles, they will come in, they will hit Fen because he can get a target lock. They'll strip his focus because they should hit. If you have a focus and a target lock, you're probably going to get 3 hits. Fen is probably going to roll a blank on evade dice. So not only does it give Fen a critical, it also removes his focus. Even Kylo with a focus shooting him at range 2 is going to be incredibly scary after Fen has taken a crit and lost his focus. It shuts down Fen Rao like nobody's business. Also, if you have an angry bobber screaming in, the best thing you can do is use the other function of Magpulse that everyone forgets. It gives people a deplete token. Hey, thank you, Gustavo. So deplete tokens, -1 to attack. Suddenly, Bobber's really scary range 1 4 dice that always gets 4 hits is slightly less scary to Kylo, because Kylo is going to come in, he's going to get shot, he's probably going to get 3 hits from Bobber. But then Kylo on average will roll a hit, evade and eyeball. So he takes a single shield, he then punches Bobber back with 4 dice, and if he has a target lock, is likely going to be doing 2 damage. So Von Reg will do 1, Kylo will do another 2, and then Revis might even be able to plink 1 in, because Revis is just sitting there going, hey, I get 3 target locks. So suddenly you've taken a single shield on Kylo for 3 or 4 damage on Bobber, and you're immediately up in that trade. Alternatively, Bobber got scared, Fen's come in thinking he can pick on Revis, and suddenly he gets his focus nailed off him, and Kylo shoots him at range 2. So this list is purely built to kill those ace lists, and at 181 it can do that. So then the question is, what is it weak to? Because it's always weak to something. And I believe that this list is weak to beefier lists, swarms, stuff that it can't get out the way of. So there's a couple of things that you can do here. You can go, okay, I'm going to sacrifice some of my bid to give myself upgrades. I could take off the proton torpedoes to add in some other upgrades, or I can look at my deployment and my tactics going into that game and see if I can still make sure I win that game. Do I think my list is effective against double medium base or like Bobber and Dengar? So basically the big ship, 2 ship lists. I think so. I think because it has the bid on them, the Magpulse shuts down a ship for 2 turns. So if you basically get 2 turns of really only taking a single shot from your opponent, if your flying is effective, you can probably arc dodge the other opponent as well. So realistically, if you can start off the game by dumping a couple of sets of proton torpedoes and Magpulse missiles into one of those large ships and get it off quickly, and that's the important thing, you have to get something off quickly, then the ace game at the end of the game, you should be able to win it, because you have Von Reg, you have Kylo, 2 of the best aces in the game, if it's 1-on-1. So you should be able to win whatever end game you find yourself in. Or, remember this, you have a 19-point bid. A 19-point bid. Let me bring this up for you. Here you go, here's a calculator. Actually, I don't even need that. Let's have a look at Yasby. So, if you kill Revis and you kill Von Reg, your opponent has only scored 92 points. If Kylo is still alive and above half health, your opponent only has 92 points. Kylo is very happy to run off into the distance with this list and just win on points. So that's something else to bear in mind, is that, I mean, imagine, because Von Reg is hard to kill, imagine they've only got half points on Von Reg. You've only given up 60 points. I'm reasonably sure that as long as you pick your target correctly, proton torpedoes and a Magpulse is going to mess up something more than 60 points, and therefore you just win the game. So it's, yeah, there is different ways to play the game. So we've built a list using the same 2 ships. We've got Kylo, we've got Von Reg, and the 2 different lists. Let me just bring them up side by side for a second. So there we go. Let's paste that one down there. Okay, let's bring that one to there, and let's bring that one to there. Cool. So copy that one and paste that in there. Lovely. So bring that up side by side. So this is number 1. This is number 2. Let's change this so that we have the big fat shuttle in it again. Here we go. So we had Thanison with Phasma. Here we are. Where's Phasma? There's Phasma. Okay, so 2 lists. Let me just let's move the chat for a second so that you can actually see things. Right. 2 lists. Same ships. We've got Kylo, we've got Von Reg, but they do very, very different things. Very different things. So it's something worth thinking about. You can start off building a list with very similar ships, but end up in a completely different place, depending on where you're looking to end up at. Your ships can, your style, sorry, that you want to fly can be completely different. If you wanted to turn this into a 4-ship list, we already saw Mark had a chat about this. So if you wanted to instead get, so we got Revis, and we had another FO just in there, you just get rid of the proton torpedoes. There we go, 7 points. You can put optics on Kylo. Here we go. Here's another style of list. It's a 4-ship, it's a bit more beefy, you've got some blockers. Von Reg, Phasma, SF, Tavson. Yep, ace and beef, exactly. So there's so many different ways that you can take this in terms of list building. The most important thing is that you make it specific to yourself. You make sure that, okay, I am comfortable with flying this list. This fits to my style. This fits to what I want to do. Do you want to build a list that just rolls in and takes something off the board in the first engagement? Well, that torpedo list will do that pretty well. Do you want to build a list that comes in, smashes something over a little bit of time, and then you get a wonderful end game with one of these amazing aces? Well, that's what the other list will do. They're all very different. The important thing to remember is that once you've built the list, you're not done. You can always come back to it. You can always change it and try and improve and make it better, and yeah, do something like that. So if you played a few games with, let's say we went back to my original list, say we went back to this one, and I found that it wasn't doing well enough against aces. Well, even though it has the massive beard, it isn't killing aces. Well, why not put in something else? And again, this is where you can change it. You can say, right, well, I'm going to put in an SF. I'm going to put in quick draw, because I think that sorry, there we go, extended. I'm going to try and change this so that it's better at killing aces. Well, having another initiative 6 with a veteran turret with a special forces gunner, there we go. That should help me with that. Hollow, Towson, Thanison, 4-2 at Space Jam. Yeah, that's a fun list. I like Hollow. 2 shuttles and Hollow. It's very hard to kill the shuttles. Hollow gives them tokens. Once you get behind them, though, that's a good question. So, shall we try this? Questions to the class. What do you guys want to build? Chuck a couple of ideas at me in the chat. What do you want to build a list around? What do you want to build a ship around? And we'll try and do that. And we'll try and think of the possible areas and options we can go. It could be a list. It could be a style. Oftentimes I will try and build a list around a concept. So, for example, my worlds list was built around force and making sure that every ship had double mods. I tried to look in all of the different factions at what ships could do that. This first order list was built around killing Bobber and Fen. Okay, so we've got Vessery. Let's try and build a list around Vessery. So we've got Vessery, we've got a YV, we've got Link Console. Carry on throwing ideas, guys. I'll have a look at as many as I can. Emon with bombs. Okay, I'm going to say Emon with bombs. Bobber and Koshka. Just replace Koshka with Emin. Done. That's your list. We don't need to think about that one. Linked Console. That's a fun one. I'll have a look at that as well. I'm curious about torrents. We're going to have a look at that. And I like the YV as well. So let's start off with Vessery, and we'll move on from there. So let's get extended up, and let's go for a list with Vessery. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at Vessery himself, have a look at his ability, and then go and see, okay, what can we put with him to make him good? And we'll think about a couple of different lists here. So Vessery's ability. While you perform an attack against a target locked ship, after you roll dice, you may acquire a target lock on the defender. In general English, what that means is if someone else has got a target lock, you get a target lock that you can use in your attack. Really, really good. So, thinking about that, ships that are immediately coming into my head, and this is something that you get used to after playing with the list builder a bit more, you just know ships off the top of your head. Now, for those of you that might not know that, then you just have a look. You've got all the different ships in here, and you can go and play with stuff. Exactly, Jendon was immediately where my head went to. So let's put Jendon in the shuttle on there. So what Colonel Jendon does, at the start of the activation phase, you may spend 1 charge. If you do, all friendly ships acquire target lock this round. Pardon me. So Jendon's pretty good. He's 48 points. You can chuck him in basically with no other upgrades, and whatever you're using gets a free target lock on a ship. Jendon can do it himself. Seems pretty good. He's one option. What else would we put this with? Well, we've got Vessery. He's pretty tanky. Does he need any upgrades? Probably fire controls. Fire controls is really good on a ship that loves to take target locks. And there we go. 5th Brother with homing missiles and target locks. Now that's a new ship that's doing really well right now. So if we take 5th Brother, we put passive sensors in there. We put a homing missile on him because he's really good with that. What have we got left? Well, we've got 16 points. I'm going to come onto this in a second, apostatus. I'm going to come onto this in a second. So a couple of things looking into this. So we've got 3 ships here. We've got 5th Brother. He's initiative 4. Vessery's initiative 4. Jendon's 3. The important thing there is that you want things you want Vessery to be firing before the thing. Hey, good to see you, man. Yeah, you want Vessery to be firing before the thing that has the target lock, because if you're shooting with a target lock, normally you'll spend the target lock on the attack. So you want Vessery to fire first. Hey, we're going to come on to this, Philip, sorry. We're going to come on to this. We need some more ships. Yes, so this is basically a list building class. This is a series that I'm running, which is, what is it, Top Gun Flight Academy or something similar. I'll remember what I called it in a sec. But yeah, so it's different ideas of how to build lists is this one, and we'll come on to some of the others. But so what we're going to be doing, I know, you give them the title. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a look at what we have right now. So we've got 5th Brother, we've got Colonel Jendon, we've got Colonel Vessery. 3 ships, okay, but realistically, 5th Brother wants someone else to take the heat. Jendon isn't really that maneuverable, and Vessery is going to be the massive problem with your opponent. Everyone is going to point at Vessery, and what we've got now is we've got 16 points left. Well, the only real thing that we could put on to make this worthwhile is probably just chuck on Palpatine. So chucking Palp on here provides Vessery with some backup, but really I don't like Jendon in this list. I don't think it's very good. Because realistically, what you want to do is you want to take the target lock with the passive sensors with 5th Brother, at which point he probably won't spend the lock because your opponent will just take 2 damage, and then Vessery gets the lock for free. So I'm going to remove Jendon here. I'm going to leave Fire Control Vessery in here. He's pretty good. And I'm going to have a look. I have 64 points remaining. What can I take? Well, 64 points. How many points is a TIE Fighter? Let's have a look at this. Where are we? TIE LN. Here we go. So if I was to take off the fire control systems, you can have 3 TIE Fighters. You can have 5th Brother. You can have Colonel Vessery. So that's not terrible. It relies a little bit on 5th Brother getting his target lock off, but if he's in range, he's got passive sensors, then why not give Vessery free target locks, have 3 TIE Fighters sitting behind? That's an option. Another option. What else have we got? We got the X1. The X1 loves taking target locks. How about Vader? What we can do is, if you want to go full GC on this, you can go for a 2-ship list. Give Vader a fire control system. He doesn't need to spend his target lock. Let's say I have some space. I have a lot of space. I have 47 points remaining. I'm going to give Vader precog reflexes. I don't like supernaturals. Supernaturals does a damage. So we'll say, let's give him precogs. I'm going to give Vessery advanced sensors so he can do stuff before he moves. I'm going to give him outmaneuver. There we go. 18-point bid, 182. Seems good. 2-ship list. Vader wants afterburners. Let's give him afterburners. There we go. Done. 12-point bid. Moves after most things. Vessery of Outmaneuver and Advanced Sensors, Vader with Precog, FCS and Afterburners. That's a proper full GC list, that is. Let's go back to Fifth Brother for a second. Dooba-dooba-doo. Where is it? V1. Fifth Brother, passives, and missiles. Homing missiles. Another option was Suntir. You could run Suntir with targeting computer. So this is the problem, we're getting too expensive. Let's take off all the extras. There we go. Let's get rid of that. Talent, outmaneuver, modification, targeting computer. How's that for a list? It's pretty good. Pretty good. And yeah, I agree with you, Missing Link. Yeah, there's the 2-ship dice. They do well. They do really well. So there's so many different options you can have here. Now, looking at this one, this is the kind of list that I would fly. You have an anvil. You can break people on Vessery and Fifth Brother. You point them straight at your opponent and Suntir flanks. At the point that Vessery shoots, something should have a target lock. You pick on something, that thing dies. At which point, by the time that your opponent has managed to kill one of your ships, you should be all in the clear, and then if they haven't dealt with Suntir, you've got outmaneuver Suntir to deal with at the end of the game. If you really don't want a 4-point bid, then you can put some fun stuff. You can put fire control systems onto there. You could probably put crack shot on there, and or you could put what do you got? You got 4 points. Probably not worth it to put any of these on here. So I'd run on 199, crack shot, tractor beam, jamming beam, any of these things. So loads of different options. Loads of different options. But again, this is just one of the different options you can look at with Vessery. Again, if we look back to weaknesses, what is this list weak to? Well, it's going to get beaten on bid. The irony is it's actually pretty weak to that FO list that I was going to throw into it. So in that case, how could we make that a bit easier? Well, I think we already have. We've already put in the passive sensors. This is an anti-ace cannon, Fifth Brother, but you need to protect him, so you need to make sure that he is safe. Alternatively, we could have a look at something that is better than Suntir at dealing with aces. So let's chuck in, maybe you want a bomber. Where are we? Death Rain. Where is Death Rain? Where's he gone? Where's the Punisher? There it is. So, what about Death Rain? What if you gave Death Rain, not Magpulse, barrage rockets, and then you give him a proximity mine and you give him some proton bombs? That is a double action bomber. Hey, I flew Death Rain for a solid 6 months. He is a very good ship. He's a very good ship. So yeah, you can give Death Rain this. He loves taking target locks for free. He drops a bomb, he takes a target lock. Oh, what with the fire controls or with passives? Yeah, so if we get rid of that, we get rid of that, and then we give passive sensors. I think personally, if you get rid of the barrage rockets, you put on a proton torpedo, you put on passive sensors, then you take off the proton bombs. I quite like that. That's anti-ace tech. How's about that for a version? Passive protons to hull upgrade. I like giving him a bomb. Honestly, I'd probably give him a set of seismic charges instead of a proximity mine. But there's, yeah, you've got different options. And again, we're looking at, okay, we've got a core of ships. And now what can we change? What can we put into this list to try and improve it? What are its weaknesses? How do we improve that weakness? Okay. Yep, again, Trad Sim. If you're struggling with a swarm list, chuck in a Trad Sim on Death Rain. That'll solve that problem. Get rid of the proton torpedoes. Suddenly, give him a trajectory simulator. Give him a proton bomb and a seismic charge. 8 points left. Well, look at that. We've got the barrage rockets back. So many different things to play with. There's lots of options. So, yeah, that's an idea. Now let's look back up there. Lynx console and the YV. The problem with passive is off you go, Death Rain. The The problem with passive is you have to activate the ships to get the lock, so you have to fire and not use the lock. Correct, yes. Which is why it's better to have Vader, in my opinion. If you're going to make a Vessery list, I really like the 2-ship. Which is also why Fifth Brother works really well, because he doesn't often use his target lock. Most people don't want to take a 4-dice homing missile with force and a lock. They'd much prefer to take 2 shields, in which case Vessery then uses the lock that Fifth Brother has on the opponent. So that's why I quite like the Fifth Brother passive sensors as a combination to Vessery. They work really well together. I think my favourite version of this list is the one with Sintir, but I'm really bad at flying Sintir, so there we go. Okay, so let's have a look at some of this. Okay, let's have a look at some synchronized consoles, because that was another one. So instead of building around a ship now, we're building around a concept. And the concept is this. Let me just show it to you. Synchronized consoles, only 1 point. After you perform an attack, you may choose a friendly ship at range 1 or a friendly ship with the synchronized console upgrade at range 1 to 3 and spend a lock you have on the defender. If you do so, the friendly ship you choose may acquire a lock on the defender. So you're basically moving around target locks. It's pretty good. So what I'm thinking here is I'm thinking, right, what ships, you either go pure efficiency or you go for ships that don't normally need a target lock. Rebels would be nice. I've got some time for Rebels. No worries there. I'm chucking some Rebel stuff. So let's have a think about this. Let's have a think about Wolf. I like Wolf. Wolf is amazing. He's 50 points. He's pretty pricey, but he's really, really nice. Passive sense of redline, I can do, but I feel like passive sensors and redline is fairly self-explanatory. You put on the proton torpedoes, he sits there, he takes passive, he gets calculate, and you hit someone with torpedoes. The real question about passive sensors redline is what do you put him with? What's his weakness? His weakness is getting shot a lot, so you need an anti-swarm. So really, Death Rain and Redline pair very well together because the trajectory simulator is a very nice anti-swarm. The final thing is that that's going to die to aces, so you need an anti-ace. So you probably put in Suntir or you put in Fifth Brother or something similar. That could work pretty well as a 3-ship. Passive, passive, and then Death Rain for the bombs. It's not bad. Jag with R3. Now that's a thing. Because I don't want to double down too much. I feel like I'm wasting my points. If I'm spending points on Sync Console, Jag is super expensive. He's not actually that expensive. Oh, sorry, I was thinking of Sinker. Apologies. Yeah, Jag is also really quite fun. Yeah, I like that. Let's use that instead of Wolf. That's even better than Wolf. See, this is why it's great to list build with someone. You have someone to bounce ideas off you. It's nice. So Jag with synchronized console. Synchronized console, the whole idea is you're passing target locks. Jag is going to give someone a target lock if it defends. So what you can then do is you can go for spam. You can go for a load of torrents with sync console. Spam, spam, spam. There we go, 47. You can fit so many of these things in here. And you can put some fun toys on if you'd like to. I quite like 3 torrents is a pretty good number. So you have 3 torrents in there and then you've got 73 points remaining. Well, why not chuck in a couple of Jedi? You can have some Jedi for pretty cheap. Luminara. Luminara's not bad. Helps your defense. You got Stacey, you got Ahsoka. I love Ahsoka. But personally, I'm going to go with Obi. The reason I'm going to go with Obi is because it doubles down on the whole token passing thing here. Now, pardon me. I'm going to give Obi a synchronized console because Obi loves to take target locks. He loves to take target locks because he's a Jedi. So he can then pass his target lock to some of these other guys. Now I have 24 points spare, so really I need to have a look at cutting something out. So let's get rid of that. So what have we got? 2 torrents. We got Jag. We got Obi. What else will fit in here? Well, if I'm going to be taking synchronized console, how about I do this? So let's go with Matchstick Broadside. Now 36 points, turret upgrade, iron cannon turret, payload, proton bomb. Here we go, 4 points remaining. Modification, synchronized console, because that's what we're doing. And Astromech, well, I'll give him an R4 so he can turn corners. So, let's see what we've got. What we have here, synchronized consoles on everyone. And we've got Jag, so everyone can pass each other target locks when they don't spend them. We've got Obi-Wan to help pass focus tokens around throughout the list. And what we've also got is we have... here we go. Yeah, we've got some control elements as well, because normally if you have a beefy list like this, it can struggle with aces. So what I've done is I've created some space for control. We have a lot of blockers. We have broadside with proton bombs for anti-swarm, just in case we get out-swarmed. If there's too many dice, you can drop some proton bombs on them. Yeah, we've got lots of different options. I've tried to create a list that can take on all comers. If you think of the different archetypes where you've got a swarm, well, proton bombs, you've got some fairly beefy ships, we can take out some of the swarm. If we think of aces, well, you've got control from broadside, you've got the blocking ability from the torrents, and then Obi-Wan can line them up. And when they get a shot, they're all going to have target locks, so those shots are going to count. Jag is great at supporting your ships if you're going against higher initiative ships. Say, for example, you're coming up against a rebel beef list. A lot of those ships are higher initiative than you. Well, when they shoot you, you get target locks back. That's really nice. So yeah, there's lots of different options here. Oh, sorry, I need CLT. I can't have all of the extra points because I need a CLT on Obi, don't I? Oh no, we can't have a modification. Damn. Oh well. Well, let's just go with a CLT Obi-Wan. We'll get rid of the R2 Astromech. Doesn't really need that. There we go. Okay. So, you don't really need the synced on Obi. The synced is coming from Jag mainly. So the whole idea is that Jag rolls in, he takes a target lock as his action. Anyone that gets shot takes a target lock, and by the end of the first round of combat, most of your ships should have target locks on the important ships. The the Agility 1 ships don't really need focus tokens. Broadside loves his focus token, but when he's coming in at long range, he'll just take a target lock and then try and pass it on to something else. 4 arcs, yep, also works. Again, it's just modifications. How do you get double mods on a ship? That's the easiest way to win a game of X-Wing, have double modifications. So, there we go. I've rambled on for a bit here. I've got some other bits that I could go through, but just coming back to the core concepts. Thing number 1, if you're going to build a list, build it around something, so you know what you're trying to get out of it. Is that a ship? Is that a concept? So, for example, we've built a ship around built a list around Vessery and his ability. We've built a list around synchronized console and how to get the best out of it. Okay. Once you've built that list, or once you've put a couple of ships in that list, you'll get to the point at the end of the list where you have lots of different options. Now, make sure that the final thing that you put in that list compensates for the weaknesses of the rest of the list. The reason I've put broadside in here is because he kills aces and a swarm with that proton bomb. So he actually deals with quite a lot of the weaknesses of the other ships. Arcs don't like getting outmaneuvered, golds don't like getting outmaneuvered, they don't like getting ganged up on, and also Obi-Wan, if he loses the bid, which he will do at 200, is going to get picked on by aces. So each of these ships complement each other. If we have a look at the Vessery list, we spent quite a lot of time talking about what would go in as the last option. That may change, and this is the most important thing to remember, is that list building is not a static thing. If we bring up this list, this is the one that I'm now apparently known for. Irony is, I have never flown a Phantom before 2.0. I've only spent about a year flying a Phantom. Before that, I'd never touched the thing. So, if you have this list, I'm constantly trying to update it. You'll notice this version has Crackshot on it. I think this is the better version right now, because I'm running on 199. Why not run on 200 with Crackshot and Whisper to get that extra damage? Now, I spent the last 3 months trying to improve this list. I keep on trying to make it better. I don't think I can, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't try. Because of that, I've made sure that when the new stuff comes out, like I've tried putting Fifth Brother in here, I've tried putting other things, it's really, really, really important that you are constantly trying to have a look at your thinking. What's the meta doing? as I said at the start, going onto List Fortress and checking out all of the different ships on there, is it a good idea to change something in my list because this is now meta? For example, now that Bobber is everywhere, is that a problem? Well, he's going to cause Whisper and Inky problems, but Vader is normally able to deal with him. If there was for example, if everyone started running really, really big initiative bid aces, maybe I'd get rid of the Grand Inquisitor. Maybe I'd put in something else that would help me deal with those aces. For example, swapping in Fifth Brother can help you deal with all of the high initiative bid aces just because they can't go anywhere near him, and then Whisper and Vader have a problem. The problem with that is that you have a massive trade-off because you take Fifth Brother off Whisper here. So every single decision that you make about building a list has its consequences. There's always got to be a reason for the decisions you make when putting ships in a list. Why is it helping you? What problem is it solving when you put that ship in the list? The final thing to look at is to remember that the list is never complete. There's always something that is changing with the game of X-Wing. Game on game, you will go, oh, but I needed that, and oh, I needed that, and that wasn't as good, so why can I not beat that kind of list? It's very, very important to have a look back at your games and decide whether or not it was a flying error or whether it was a list building error. Are you unable to beat one of those lists out there? Because you can't do it. It's almost impossible. You're going to lose that game 80 to 90% of the time because of what you have. Well, if you're planning on winning a tournament, that's not acceptable. If you're going to be seeing that list that you lost to on a regular basis, if it's a popular list, then you have to make sure you can kill it. So if that means changing your list and removing one of the ships and changing it up, then that's something that you just have to do. You have to accept it. If you think that, okay, I'm going to play matchup bingo, that's fine. But remember, if you play matchup bingo and you get paired into this list in the cut, well, you've got no chance. You're going to lose. So making your easy games just that little bit harder to make sure that you can win your hardest games is a really, really core point of list building, and it's something that I think a lot of people don't do enough, which is put the onus on yourself to fly better, quote unquote, Minot Squadron podcast, RIP, but put the onus on yourself to fly better and believe in yourself to win those easy games. Don't double down on something that's going to make it easier for you to win an easy game, when realistically what you need to do is you need to be making sure that your list can win every game, not just the easy ones. So there we go, guys. I'm going to chuck it over to you for the last, any more questions that you guys might have. If not, then I will sign off. But I'm sure that some of you guys have got some questions there in terms of how to put lists together. And yeah, that is the start of this series. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a few of these. I've got about 10 or 11 episodes planned. We'll see if anyone else has any good ideas. But do let me know in the comments as well if there is anything that you'd like to know about in terms of, I really think this is important about going to a tournament, or I never knew this about improving my X-Wing game. The whole purpose of this is getting you guys up to a good level so that you can start kicking people's butts at tournaments. And yeah, if there's that one guy that you can never beat down at your X-Wing store, then let's get you up there. Let's get that good practice in, make sure we can beat him. Hey, not a problem, Mark. Oh, good question. So why have we not seen synchronized console before? Normally, it's something that one of you guys mentioned earlier. I think it was, Apostatus. It's normally the fact that you spend the target lock on the attack. So if we're spending the target lock on the attack, often we're not able to pass it on. Also, the ships that it's good on, so Torrents and Arcs, the reason it's good on Torrents and Arcs is because Arcs tend to take target locks and not take focus tokens so that they can pass it on to Torrents. Haven't been popular or good in the meta for the last few months / year. As soon as Torrents become popular again, and as soon as the Arc becomes a good ship again, then I think that Synchronized Console will really improve in popularity. It's something that we might see when the new clone gunship comes in. I don't know what the attack profile on that is. Hey, thank you, Wiscan. I'm glad I can help. Apostatus, my problem is that sometimes choose lists that are a little under strength to get ships that I think are fun. So that is a very good point. Now, this is a really, really cool one because I've done this a few times. I've gone, okay, I don't know how to use this ship, or I want to learn how to fly this ship, or I think this ship it could be better, so I'm going to try and build a list around it. Sometimes I find that it is just bad, but other times you find that you can make a list around the ship and you can actually make it work. And oftentimes, and this is where the YV thing came in, oftentimes you can go, okay, well actually I've made this a good list, and because of the fact that no one's expecting it, because you don't see it that often, it can take people by surprise and do pretty well. So yeah, I wouldn't, I don't think that's actually a bad thing, choosing lists that are a little under strength, because that has to be your starting point. The first list you build is never going to be the best one. This world's list went through 6 or 7 different changes. I spent about 6 months getting this right. It took a very long time. And that was a constant conversation with all of the people that I play X-Wing with on a regular basis. Whilst they're my competitors, they are also my mates. So like, yeah, having access to all of these people around the world that play X-Wing together, if you just send someone a message and go, hey dude, what do you think of this? How can I make this better? It's a really, really useful way, because often you're not going to see everything. And it's important to do that. So those lists that you have, Applesatus and everyone else that said the same thing, that are a little under strength to get ships that you think are fun in there, well, they could be better. Doesn't mean you have to take out that ship that you think is fun. Well, why not make it better? Why not see what you can change to make it better? Paul Stryker, is it worth flying a list you don't enjoy if it means winning tournaments? Very good question. By the way, I am going to come back to the, there was one up here about, where was it? Jedi was synchronized in battle meditation. Oh, dedicated. What was it? Dedicated. Is that a crew? That's a Republic crew, isn't it? Let's get the arc up here. Give me a second. Ah, yeah, it's the EPT. Here we go. So I'm gonna come down to this, Paul Strikers. This is a very good question. There we go. So whilst another friendly ship in your side arcs or at range 0 to 2 defends, there we go. You guys have got me. It is limited, or it has the dedicated upgrade, and is not strange. You may take a strain. The defender may reroll one of their blanks. Okay, the reason I don't think that's good is because it's a reroll. It's for the same reason that Lone Wolf is bad. Lone Wolf is bad for 5 points anyway, because it is a single reroll that has a, what are we thinking? If we're talking just evades, a 3 in 8 chance of working. Single reroll, 3 in 8 chance, 5 points. That's really expensive. Yeah, it's good if it turned it into an evade. Dedicated made the UK SOS final. Did it? I'm fairly sure that the UK SOS final was between I watched the game. It was Timo and someone else. Who did Timo beat in the final? Oh, that one. Oh yeah, I remember that Republic list. Spanish guy. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think, to be fair, the rest of his list was good, not dedicated. That was very much a list that I feel like that was a list that had space to be improved, and it was seen like the final was fairly one-sided. Yeah, the Spanish guys spent basically all of their energy beating the crap out of each other in the semi-final, and then by the time they got to the final, Timo just sort of went, okay, thank you very much. But yeah, a reroll. Aha, no. Okay, this is really important. A reroll is basically +1 green die. Yes and no. Now this is the difference between adding dice versus adding modifications. It is always better to add modifications than it is to add dice. Now this is something I'm going to do on is looking at the statistics of X-Wing, because this is how I play the game. I play mathematically. This is one of my later ones. But it's always better to add a modification than it is to add a dice. Always. The only difference from that is if you're just adding a single focus mod to 1 dice versus adding a second red or green dice. Once you go from 2 dice to 3 dice, it is always better to add a modification. It's better to have a mod on two red dice than it is to just add 1 extra red dice. Always. So bear that in mind. in terms of adding dice. It's always better to add the modification than it is to add the dice, which is, I think, why dedicated is bad. Well, I mean, it's 1 point, but it's very, very hard to get off. Anyway, looking back through there. Okay, so going back up to that other question from Paul. Yeah, like there's if you're having to work that hard to make a list work, which is why I think synchronized console is a little bit but at 1 point I think it's good because it can give you double mods. Anyway, going back to Paul's statement. Is it worth flying a list you don't enjoy if it means winning tournaments? Why are you playing the game? That isn't a why the hell are you playing the game, what are you doing, you monster, but that's why do you want to play the game? Do you want to play the game to have fun and meet people at tournaments, or are you a competitive person and you want to win? I am. I'm a competitive person and I want to win. That's why I play all of these games. I try and make my list better and better and better. And I enjoy winning. I really, really enjoy playing against loads of different people, but I also really enjoy winning. And if I'm honest with myself and with you guys, if I go to a tournament and I get the crap beaten out of me, then I will not enjoy it. I'll love being there and I love seeing the people, but I won't have a good time because the whole purpose of me going to a tournament is to win. Like I want to win as many games as possible. I want to win that event. And if I do well, then it doesn't feel bad. If I go 5-1 and I lose a cut game, then okay, fair enough. That's fine. I've done well. I've shown that I'm a good player and I've won a lot of my games. But I think you've got to be honest with yourself in why are you playing the game. If your enjoyment comes out of winning, then try the list that you don't enjoy. Maybe you'll come to like it. It's a really good list. Maybe by flying it a few times, you'll go, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought. The other question to ask is, why don't you enjoy it in the first place? Is it because it's a style? Is it because you have a problem with a ship? You think that the ship is broken and therefore you shouldn't fly it, so you feel bad for using it? Again, that's where you have that internal argument of how much do you want to win versus how much do you care about not flying that ship. It's interesting. So I'm going to sit on the moral fence there. I'm not going to say that I have the high ground and you should definitely fly what you love instead of winning a tournament, because I don't think that's the correct answer. I think it depends on who you are. I also think that you can fly a list you enjoy and win a tournament. I feel like you can, using some of the stuff that I've shown you today, hopefully you can make a list that you both enjoy and can do well. And if it isn't doing very well, then you can improve it, change out certain bits, and eventually, hopefully, you will come to enjoy that list and then also win a tournament with it. One of the reasons I think it appeared in a list recently was the lowest generic arc. Yes, absolutely. So if you're taking named arcs, then you might as well. Part of what leads team is listen same as defensive rerolls. Yes. But this is the thing. If you have a focus token already, and if it's on every single thing, so defensive rerolls, a lesson. If you can take a defensive reroll on every single shot, i.e. Koshka with stress or Bobber with people at range 1, it's amazing. If you can have more than one reroll, it's also amazing. If you only have a single reroll that you can use once per turn, then it's not as good, which is where the issue lies. Because the whole purpose of a defensive reroll is, if you're using a reroll dice instead of using a modification, then you're getting into the world of statistics. So the more you use that reroll, the better it will become, because the more likely you are to roll an evade result with it, or a hit result with it. So it's what makes Predator so good. It's why they decided to make Predator go bullseye only, because it was just ridiculous. It what makes the Force amazing, because if you have lots of Force points, you always have that passive focus mod every single turn. So yeah, it's absolutely Elred. He has defensive rerolls, but he also has a modification with it. And so much of the game is played in range 1 to 2. That's where Lone Wolf struggles. So yeah, dedicated does have a place. Anyway, carry on with the questions, guys. If you have any more questions, I still have a bit of time left to answer them before I go and cook my dinner. By the way, this will be on YouTube afterwards. All of these are getting uploaded to YouTube. They will be on my channel under a separate playlist, so do not ye worry, kind people. If you wanted to watch this back and just listen to me talk, then you're weird. Sucks to be you. Who wants to listen to me talk? But if this is helpful for you, then fantastic, and I'm glad. And it will be up on my YouTube channel. Hi, Mum, indeed. I suppose I should wave to my mum. Hi, Mum. I should probably get my webcam sorted on this as well. I'm not going to go into that relationship. Maui and Funwhat can deal with whatever you like. But I don't know. Maybe I'll get a little webcam me down in the bottom corner here. Seems fun. I mean, I could add a quiz. I could totally add a quiz, but I feel like it's thing. Oh, okay. I'm going to deal with this one. This is an interesting one because that's the second time in. You've just asked me a straight question. How do you do this? How do you do this? Outmaneuver or Duke on Whisper in a 2-ship build. Have a look at the rest of the list. If Whisper is always going to be shooting second, and that first ship is going to be causing you to spend the evade, causing your opponent to spend the focus, then fantastic. If you want the second ship to do the damage, and Whisper is more the, okay, I'm going to line this up, so I'm going to shoot this ship, strip the focus, and then the second ship does damage, then cool, then go with Duke. Realistically, in a world where so much force exists right now, Duke is a bad upgrade. It works well on 4 ships because it's basically crack shot after the first one. There's only so many focus tokens you can take, or force points you can spend. So if you have 4 ships with Duke, it's amazing. But yeah, I think in a 2-ship build, outmaneuver every time. But always, especially with these questions, always have a look at the rest of the list. That's been related to both of those questions there, Ian. Is both what to put with Redline. Well, what's Redline's weaknesses, and also what upgrade do I put on this? Well, does it fit with the list? Does it work? Like, this is the whole point of this. I can tell you stuff because I've practiced this and I know what to do. At what point do you forget the bid based on the initiative of your ships? Depends on the ship. If you have a look at my worlds list, it doesn't need a bid, because have a look at what it does. My worlds list, passive sensors. That's why it doesn't need a bid. Vader takes passive. He doesn't care about initiative because he always gets his target lock. He's a jouster. He isn't an art dodger. No matter what people tell you about Vader, he is not an art dodger. The reason that Afterburners is there to get him in range 1 and do more damage. That's why they're there. Whisper is an arc dodger, but she arc dodges at initiative 0. She doesn't arc dodge at initiative 6. So she doesn't care about the bid. She will candy cane herself around the back of your opponent and just go, thank you very much, I will shoot you anyway. Doesn't matter where you are. Whisper is a ship that works on prediction. You have to constantly be predicting where your opponent is going to go. If you get it right, then you tear them to shreds. If you get it wrong, she just explodes. So if you want to get better with Whisper, get better at your prediction of where your opponent's going to go. And that's also another one I'm going to be looking at how to predict your opponent and playing the game when you don't have initiative. Why hasn't Ray Pilot made a splash? I think it's more down to the available wingmates. Ray is the best pilot in the Resistance faction if you're not an A-wing. The A-wings are the best, and then Ray is second. Poe is sad because he's too expensive. He wants to be Centaur, he's just not. Yeah, there's a few options. There's a few reasons. Ray is good. There are Ray lists that do well. I wouldn't call them S tier. They are solidly A tier, but they're still good lists. But yeah, I think Ray is great without many upgrades. Yeah, but Stuart Black flies Ray very well. That really helps. Anyway, I think I'm going to call that a day, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Vader without afterburners, again, depends on the list. I've seen a list with Duchess, outmaneuver, 3 TIE fighters and Vader. That's a great list because that Vader is just the jouster. He jousts with the TIE fighters. Duchess is the end game. Hey, good to see you, Patrick. Hope you're doing well. I hope to come and see you very soon. How often am I going to be doing these? When I can. They are eventually all going to be uploaded to my YouTube channel. Don't worry, Mannequin. In about an hour, this will all be on my YouTube channel. So don't worry about the fact that you got here late. You can come and listen to all of it. And I don't really stream with a schedule, so sorry. I would try and give you guys advance notice so that you can log on and ask questions if you have some questions. But even if you do have questions, chuck them in the comments on the YouTube video. I will get back to you there because I do read all of the comments that you put there. Finally, I think that's it. Glad you guys liked it, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.